Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. And today we have Bill Mulligan with us. He is the marketing manager of Cncf, and I want to invite him in the stream. So, guys, do comment excited if you are excited for this stream. And we have Bill with us, guys. Hello, Bill. Hi. How are you?
Hey, good. How's it going?
I hope you are doing great.
Yeah, I hope you are too.
Thank you. So, Bill, before starting this session, I would like to, know something about CNCF and what you are doing in CNCF. So, before starting this session, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So CNCF is an open source organization, and what we focus on is creating and sustaining ecosystems around open source technologies, specifically infrastructure technologies like Kubernetes. And we're actually a sub-foundation of the Linux Foundation, and Linux Foundation like the operating system. And what I do specifically at CNCF is focusing on growing the community of people that are using, adopting, contributing to CNCF open source projects.
Great. So, Bill, most of the students ask me, what is the vision of CNCF? Why CNCF is started? What is the basic vision of CNCF?
Yeah, absolutely.
Foundation.
So,
yes.
Yeah, CNCF is meant as a neutral home for people to host their open source projects. And it's a way for multiple different companies to come together. So the first project that we had was Kubernetes, and it was originally donated by Google. And what they wanted to kind of do was advance the state of infrastructure technology. So, right, Google's running 1,000 different servers, and how do they coordinate their different workloads across those servers? Well, other people would also benefit from that technology. But if it's a project just controlled by one company, then there won't be as great of adoption. And so they donated it to CNCF to help create a really strong ecosystem and a space where multiple companies could come together to collaborate on Kubernetes and also other open source projects. And so I think you've really seen the growth of that community. And currently we have over 600 different companies as members because they see the importance of contributing to open source projects like Kubernetes, like Prometheus, like Envoy. And so that's the role that CNCF really plays in this ecosystem, is providing a home for these projects. And I guess beyond that, what we do is also, how do we get people into the project? So when students want to come and say, how do I get started in cloud native technologies? CNCF has different programs for them too.
Great. So, Bill, I have few of the students, those who are very excited to talk with you. So I am introducing them. Let's introduce Dibyasum, Ishika, and Saksham in the stream, guys. Hope you will ask few questions from Bill, and make this session interesting. So let's continue with this.
Hi. So first of all, thank you so much for coming here. It's so nice to have you. Okay, so most of our audience somehow have an idea about CNCF now. So can you tell us about how can one contribute to CNCF project?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's multiple different ways you can become a contributor to CNCF projects. Probably the most thought of way is contributing code to a CNCF project, but there's so many more ways to help out and grow the community. So I actually haven't contributed any code to any CNCF projects, but I still consider myself a member of the community because I've fixed documentation on the Kubernetes website. I've helped run meetups promoting CNCF, Kubernetes, and other technologies. I've helped run Kubernetes community days, and there's actually going to be one in Bangalore in June. So there's multiple different ways to contribute to CNCF projects. And actually, I think one of the most exciting ways is actually for students, and I think it's a really cool program, is actually our mentorship program. And what this is it gives students a 3-month paid mentorship program to work on an open source project. So we have over 80 projects in the CNCF, and some of them want to encourage new contributors to come into the ecosystem. And so CNCF pays for students to work on these projects for 3 months, and they get a mentor. And it's a really cool way to get into and start becoming a contributor to open source and also cloud native technologies.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Hi, Bill. Saksham this side. How are you?
Hey, good.
Bill, my question is to you is like most of the companies have their student ambassador program so that student can be part of it and, as you said, contribute in it and learn more about it. So does CNCF has any such of these programs so that more of the students get to know about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do currently have an ambassador program, and we currently have ambassadors on 6 different continents. I'm trying to get one in Antarctica, but we haven't quite gotten to 7 continents yet. And if you go to like our GitHub and repo, you can find out more about the ambassador program. We're currently evaluating a student ambassador program, but that's still being worked on. So, yeah. And I think the ambassadors do a lot of great things. Like I said, there's multiple ways to contribute. So one thing that the ambassadors do is run meetups all around the world for us. They organize Kubernetes community days. They write blog posts. They do these kind of things and help contribute to the message of cloud native technologies.
Great. Actually, I was thinking to apply for that. I'll surely do that.
Sorry, what'd you say?
I was just saying that I was also thinking to do that. So yeah.
Oh, okay.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep. Hello, Bill. I have been into Kubernetes. Like I'm very like I work on Kubernetes a lot, and I'm really excited to use that technology. And I was also thinking, since I am working on it, I'll go for the certified Kubernetes administrator certification. And I saw that one of the perks of attending KubeCon is that we get one of the perk of attending KubeCon is that we get a discount for the certification program, like around 50%, I guess. So could you say like what are the other benefits one can expect of attending the KubeCon?
Yeah, I think that's definitely a super big benefit. One is it's 50% exactly. off any training and certification. And so that already pays for itself, even though I know we will be giving out some free tickets today. Other exciting things is going and interacting in all the different sessions. So going and seeing what the latest and greatest technology is, being able to interact with the speakers and hear what projects people are open sourcing or how they've solved different projects. If you want to apply to the different mentorship programs I was talking about before, a lot of the projects have a meet the maintainer session, and you could go there and ask about the projects and ask if they're going to have a mentorship program there. And so you can kind of get the early access to mentorship programs that might be coming out. You can meet different people in the community. A lot of companies will be there, and I know some of them are hiring, especially for like student interns and stuff too. So you can stop by the booths, see who's hiring. And then also you can just stop by. Actually, my favorite part of the conference is actually the hallway track. And this is kind of the informal gatherings between the sessions. And last year there was a Slack channel, there's a Zoom call, and there's different ways to kind of casually interact with different people across the community. It's a great way to grow the number of people that you know.
Wow, that's really exciting to know, especially about the bridging the attendees with the maintainers. That's a really amazing opportunity, I guess. Thank you.
Yeah, since there's so much hype going on regarding the KubeCon 2021, so can you maybe tell the audience regarding what's the whole procedure and like how can it benefit you or anyone?
So yeah, so you're saying what are the benefits of attending KubeCon?
Yeah.
Yeah. So some of it is what I talked about before. It's learning, it's networking, it's interacting with other people, it's discount on training things. We'll also be having different student sessions and also different ways to get into the ecosystem. I know there's also going to be a lot of good keynotes too. I definitely recommend going to Priyanka. She's the general manager, and she'll be talking about the impact Cloud Native has even had on a student so far this year. So I'd definitely check out her keynote too.
Okay.
Sure.
Great. So Bill, my next question to you is like, what inspires you and what motivates you to run this such a great community and organizing such great conferences in in this pandemic or even also. So what is your idea behind this?
Yeah, what inspires me? It's definitely engaging and interacting with the community. I think the most exciting thing is to be able to talk with students, be able to talk to other people in the industry and see how cloud native has impacted their career and their life. I've talked to multiple different people and say it's really changed the trajectory of their life. And so I think that's a really cool impact to have. I was actually just talking with another student earlier today, and he said, during the beginning of the pandemic, he was really sad about kind of like how his life had been impacted. But because the cloud native community was so open, so welcoming, he really found a new place, a new way to express himself. And it's really transformed him, made him a lot more positive and kind of giving him a new lease on life. And I think that's something that's really exciting to say. And that's a cool thing that a community can provide. And being a part of that and being part of, I think what's probably one of the very welcoming and opening and accepting communities in open source is, I guess, really, impactful and nice to be a part of.
Yeah, wow, great, thank you.
Hello. Yeah, so I had another question that, while attending KubeCon, a lot of people are aware of that, some are not. But what is the expectation from the perspective of KubeCon? Like while organizing such an amazing event, what are the target audience that you're looking for? Who is, for whom this is going to be the most crucial? Like, what kind of audience are you expecting?
Yeah. This is hard because it's really funny, asking this question, because 5 years ago is a very different question than now. So 5 years ago, KubeCon was just, 100 people, almost like in somebody's backyard. And now the last one, KubeCon North America, was around 25,000 people online. This KubeCon will be somewhere between 20 and 30,000 people. So when you say what's the one person that this is going to be important for, it's really hard to say. I think the cool thing about KubeCon is that there really is something for everybody that wants to come. I think you're going to see a lot of stuff for people that are for students, like all the stuff we talked about, for people that are running cloud native technologies in production and how they can best take advantage of Kubernetes. For people that are on the bleeding edge of technology, I want to learn about new things. There's something for them there. And then the other thing I'm super excited about is actually all the co-located events before KubeCon. And these are the day or two before KubeCon. And they're tackling new and interesting technologies like cloud native security, cloud native Rust, cloud native WASM, Kubernetes on the edge, Kubernetes AI, data on Kubernetes. It's all of these kind of peripheral technologies around the cloud native ecosystem, and where a lot of the innovation is starting to move out into. And so I think those are exciting. And so I wouldn't say there's kind of one KubeCon or one person that needs to go to KubeCon. It really has kind of become a wealth of innovation covering so many different aspects. And I think a lot of people can find something for them there. Even people that aren't into coding at all, that want to be on the business side of IT. We're actually just experimenting this time with a business value subtract of KubeCon. And this is talking about what is the business aspect, what is the business aspect impact of cloud native.
Yeah, Yogi, I guess there's something for everyone in this amazing event.
Being a student, we usually do not prefer joining such conferences because we think that, we cannot touch that level. So how can a student contribute exactly for a student, and how can it benefit a college student who doesn't know much about it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a couple good places to get started. One is actually on this business value subtrack, because it'll allow you, everybody needs to work for run a business. And I guess if you are able to break down what impact IT has on that, it'll give you a better understanding of the business. That's one aspect. The second aspect, there is a 101 track, and this is kind of introductory talks of how do I get into, the cloud native ecosystem? How do I understand one technology? And so I think there's a lot of cool things in the 101 track that'll help provide an easier on-ramp into like the cloud native ecosystem too. And then also, it's like I was saying before, code isn't the only way you can contribute. There's also a lot of evangelism you can do too. And so I know my boss actually got her like starting to the cloud native ecosystem doing marketing for Jaeger, which is one of the CNCF projects. And I'll actually be hosting a session at KubeCon about building your brand with CNCF. And so that's going to be a really fun session. I'd suggest checking it out. So even if you're not interested in spending all your day coding, but want to learn about like the cloud native ecosystem, there's something there for you. And I think there is a place for you to help to grow your whole career within cloud native.
Okay, that's really nice to know.
So Bill, as you talked about that, about open source contributions, and we all know that there is so much hype about it. So can you just tell how CNCF helps freshmen achieving open source contribution? How can one start with it?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's multiple different ways. So I would say the easiest one is like to attend a local meetup. And these are your like local events. And if you go to community.cncf.io and you can search for your local region, there's probably one around you running probably virtual events right now. But it's a good way to kind of get introduced to different technologies around the ecosystem. There you'll probably meet some of the CNCF ambassadors that we were talking about earlier. Then the next thing that CNCF does is it provides actually a lot of free training resources online. And so if you go to edX and type in like Linux Foundation, you can find that CNCF has like so many different free courses if you want to learn about cloud native technologies. So there's an introduction to Kubernetes, there's cloud native logging with FluentD, there's monitoring with Prometheus, there's introduction to service mesh, there's Kubernetes on the edge, there's even more courses. And so if you want to start learning about it and trying to understand what all these different technologies do, CNCF provides free resources for you to get started on your cloud native journey. And then the next thing is providing you paid mentorships to contribute, and it also has a job board. So there's kind of different steps along the journey. So whether you're someone who's never heard about cloud native before and wants just to take an introductory class, all the way towards getting a job and having a full career in cloud native, I think we have something for you at every step of the way.
Great. Thank you so much.
Bill, we have a question in the live chat. It's by Gaurav Sharma, sir, and he has been very helpful to us in our community. And his question is that, tell us something about your childhood and early days in the industry. Like, what are your learnings that you would like to share about your opportunities?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess I probably have a very different background than a lot of people into the industry. And I actually did my undergraduate in biochemistry. Then I went to and got my master's in social science. So I wouldn't say I don't have any computing background. I didn't really like learn how to code. And then I went through I first went to a Kubernetes startup that was doing a machine learning platform on Kubernetes. I showed up to the first day of work and they're like, you're going to work with Kubernetes. And I was like, this is awesome. We're going to Greece and going to hang out like on a nice island there and probably go surfing. And they're like, no, this is a command line. And I'm like, what's a command line? So definitely not your like traditional background. Obviously, like every good startup, that one failed. So I went to another startup that was doing another different Kubernetes platform. Then I actually kind of went to a couple meetups. I spoke at a meetup. Then I spoke at a conference, and then I ended up at CNCF. So I wouldn't say you need a traditional background to get into cloud native or get into Kubernetes. You take people from every single background, and we can get there.
I mean, you do have a diversified set of knowledge about all the different fields, though.
Yeah.
Bill, I have one question as well. What is the aim of KubeCon, perspective of open source development? Nowadays, Bill, when we are looking forward to the industry are looking forward the open source contribution. So what do you think in next upcoming years, how open source impact the jobs? How the students, will the students get benefit if they do some open source project in their, college life?
Yeah, absolutely. I think open source is a great accelerator to your career path. And even I'm a beneficiary of it. Because I've been able to get into the open source ecosystem, my whole career trajectory has just accelerated so much. And I really attribute to that to contributing to the ecosystem. And so I think whether you are going to be a coder or you want to do something else, getting involved in these ecosystems can be really beneficial for you. I think a lot of businesses now are starting to realize the benefit open source provides them, and that will only continue. We see more and more companies investing in open source, and people who have the ability to interact with open source communities contribute to upstream projects, because those projects are integrated into production environments for businesses and are critical to their businesses. So I definitely think getting involved and experience with open source will be an awesome help for your future career.
Great. Many of these students are want to contribute to open source, but they don't know how to contribute to open source, how to contribute to Cncf. What are the basic skills that they need to have while contributing to open source?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a couple different ways. So one is if you go to contribute.cncf.io, you'll find different resources there. Some basic skills if you want to work with most open source ecosystems is understanding how Git or GitHub works. A lot of them, at least all the CNCF projects, are on GitHub, and that's the main way we interact. So there you'll find the issues, the pull requests, those things. So being familiar with GitHub, I think, is like really helpful to working in open source communities. And then also kind of a lot of the projects, if you go to the actual project on GitHub, they'll have a contributing file. And if you read through that, you'll understand where they're accepting contributions and how you can be helpful to the project. And so I think most healthy open source projects have a contributing document, and that's a really good place to start too. Actually, I'd really like to call out the Kubernetes community they have a special interest group called Contributor Experiencing that was actually started by Nikita, who actually began as one of the student interns that I was talking about, is now one of the leads on the Kubernetes steering committee and helped start that contributor experience. So once again, going from that internship all the way up to a full contributor, and then giving back and making sure other people understand how to contribute to the ecosystem. So yeah, just start with the contributing file.
There's one question from audience that suppose we are using Kubernetes and we find that that it can be modified, but we don't know how to code. So how then also we can contribute if we want to make any changes, if we want to suggest any changes in Kubernetes. Can we do that?
Yeah, absolutely. I can tell you my first contribution to the Kubernetes project was just fixing a broken link in the documentation. So even if you don't know how to code, you can absolutely still contribute. And like I said before, there's tutorials on how to interact with Markdown. That's all I was doing. But then there's other ways to contribute too. It's not just about code. It's about organizing meetups. It's people who can use social media. It's people that can do live streams like this. This is contributing to growing the community too. So what we're doing right now is also contribution.
Okay, great. So Bill, one of the last questions which I need to ask from you is, KubeCon is coming in next 10 to 15 days. There are many first year students, second year students, those who doesn't know anything about KubeCon. One thing what you want to tell them, this is the KubeCon and you need to participate, you need to go and, explore. What is the, basic glimpse of the KubeCon, which is the best thing of the KubeCon according to you?
Yeah, it's the community. I think that's the cornerstone of the cloud native ecosystem is the community, and KubeCon is where the community gathers, and that's why you should go.
Okay. So any ending note you want to say, anything at the end you want to say to our audience?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a pleasure interacting with you. I'm available if you want to reach out and have any questions. You can find me on Twitter at BreakawayBilly. Super happy to hear people's thoughts, feedback. If there's something you didn't understand, there's better ways we can get students into the ecosystem. That's something we're always trying to improve on here at CNCF. So please feel free to reach out to me if you have ideas about how we can do it better. You can contribute too.
Sure, sir. Sure. And with this, I like to end with this stream, guys. And I am putting a Google form in the description. Please go, and those who are interested for KubeCon, they can, fill that form. And thank you very much, Bill, for accepting our invitation. Thank you very much from the core of dot question mark. And it's great to talk with you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I think we let me invite whole core so that we click a photo and we click a screenshot and then we post on our social media handles. So,
cool.
Yes, let me take a screenshot from this.
It was really a pleasure to talk to you. Well, thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Good
Okay,
evening,
guys.
sir.
Let's end up with the stream, guys.